Hello, welcome back to the Sound Good podcast. I'm your host, Michael.
I'm Micah.
And we hope you enjoyed that month-long break from us, because I know we are insufferable.
I wish I could take a month-long break for myself. It's not fair, listener.
Me too. Yeah, you guys got it made. Anyway, the way these episodes are going to be run from here on out is going to be a little different. Hopefully it's going to sound more organized, but we're going to try and start off every episode with a little bit of music news, maybe some artist updates, album release updates, all that stuff like that. And then we'll go into the reviews after we do that for a little bit. I don't know, that's probably just 5-10 minutes worth of that stuff. And
yeah.
Then we'll hit the reviews, and after the reviews, during our little goodbye segment, we're going to try and tell you guys what we've been listening to, if it's not something we've been reviewing that week, or if we think it's worth noting. We'll just try and give little recommendations of what just what we've been listening to for the past week or so, leading up to this episode. And hopefully it will make these episodes sound more organized and less chaotic and more listenable, because Lord knows so many of the other ones were just...
I don't know, that's a tall order, dude.
It's a tall order to be listenable. You are correct.
From where we were starting, it's going to take a while.
So, anyway, to start off right
some
now,
news.
We're going to go into some news. I know Micah has quite a bit to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the one that I really, really want to open up with is, so you didn't hear, and you heard nothing about this whole witch rot thing, right?
Yeah, you said witch rot, and I have no clue. Because
all of the meme pages that I follow first shared this, and then Metal Sucks kind of got on it. But what would they be? They are a stoner metal, kind of doom metal band, I guess.
Okay.
And they just made a random post on November 25th, so 6 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a broken guitar in a dumpster with snow everywhere, and it just says it's an update on the band. Due to the unfortunate reality of our guitarist fucking my girlfriend of almost 7 years, Witch Rot will be taking an extended hiatus. I will, however, continue the band in another space and time, being ripe with hate. The music is slowly flowing, and without a doubt will become the most devastating, torturous music I have ever created.
Oh my God.
Thanks for the support. Stay heavy. Also, our drummer died.
Oh my God, what? What the fuck?
That's how it's ended.
Oh my God.
I don't know the truth to any of this, but ooh.
Jesus.
I hope everybody in Witch Rot's doing okay.
Oh my God. Wow.
They have cool art.
So
I haven't listened to their music yet, but
great start to the first news segment of this podcast so far.
Hey man, that was kind of breaking news.
Oh my God. Wow. I'm not
and
for the record.
Okay.
I am not laughing at the content of the story. I am laughing at how, oh my God. Why is
the fact that I just chose that?
Why is this the first thing? Oh my God. Okay. Wow.
And I guess Fallujah might announce their new album soon.
Oh yeah, speaking of album announcements and all that jazz, I heard from a couple groups I'm in, I heard that there is a possibility of a La Dispute album coming out early next year, and the only reason I bring that up is because I spoiler for our schedule, plan on reviewing the 10-year anniversary of Somewhere at the Bottom of the River Between Altair and Vega, which came out at the beginning of November here. I think it was November 9th. So
I'm excited.
The only reason I'm bringing up this possibility, this rumor that La Dispute will be announcing an album early next year, late this year, is relevant because of that. So that's some exciting news. I am hella excited for a new La Dispute record.
Yes, they weren't. I thought that they were they were never a band that was on hiatus, right? They've just been an ongoing band.
Yeah. They just take a while to write their albums.
When was their most recent album?
I believe 2016 was when Rooms of the House came out. 2016 or 2015.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've just never listened to them.
Just
and they've always sounded like a
take
mythical.
a few years, because I know Somewhere at the Bottom of the River came out in '08, obviously for the 10-year remaster. And then I think it was either 2010 or it was between 2010 and 2012 that Wildlife came out. It might have been 2013 actually. Nah, before then. Yeah,
nice.
Wildlife came out then, and then there was a break, in between albums, and I think Rooms of the House came out in either 15 or 16. So they seem to do 3 to 4 year cycles in their albums.
That's only like a year longer than normal for most bands,
right.
though.
Also, album release news. We probably won't review this album, but I know Earl Sweatshirt just actually put out an album Friday, November 30th, called Some Rap Songs. I've listened to that a few times. It's 12 songs long. It's only 24 minutes, but I recommend checking that out if you like Odd Future or any kind of like experimental hip hop. Earl Sweatshirt is the man.
Okay.
But other than that, that's all I can think of off the top of my head for new releases. Do you have any other noteworthy music news?
Yeah. So like I kind of interrupted you earlier. I'm really frustrated that Fallujah keep on teasing us with their new album. Like a month ago, they posted a teaser, and they're like, the hour is near, and then several hours went by, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And everybody collected.
But I guess they're putting together, yeah, they're putting together pre-order packages at the moment, I guess. So it's really weird that they haven't actually like announced it.
Yeah,
but
pre-orders for what?
Right. And yeah, we might not talk about it on the podcast, but just because it's an instrumental. But Sithu I, the guy with the Senpai EPs.
Oh yeah, very notable prog guitarist.
He actually he just announced a follow-up to his most recent double album, Set Course for Andromeda. It's called Homebound.
Ooh.
So it's literally just the reverse. It's not going to be a double album like before. It seems like it's going to be a normal album length, but it's coming out December 17th. I got the Bandcamp notification that he just announced a new album and just like freaked out for a solid like 5 minutes. I was super happy.
Yeah, he's some good stuff.
There is a single out, so
cool.
There's that.
Oh, I just remembered actually. Another new release is notable emo revival band Algernon Cadwallader is actually reissuing all three or all. I believe it's their two previous albums on vinyl through Asian Man Records and Lauren Records.
Okay.
That comes out December 14th. And I'm not sure if there's any records left. I know I personally pre-ordered all of them. They're also actually putting out a new, I guess it's an album, but it's going to consist of the entirety of their Fun EP plus a bunch of, I think it was unreleased tracks that they had and they just never put on any albums. So you're going to get their first two LPs and then their EP and a bunch of unreleased tracks on December 14th. So that was some hella exciting news for me. I believe I screamed a little bit when I saw the announcement. Because they haven't been a band for 5 years, I want to say. 2013, 2012 probably. They haven't made music since then. So that was some pretty exciting news.
Yeah, that's fair. Speaking of vinyl announcements that made us scream, if I know, no one did. It's too much to assume. In my bonus episode,
it's too much to assume.
I talked about 4 albums, and one of them was the Periphery side project, Haunted Shores, which is like a really cool. It's kind of Periphery's guitarist take on black metal, and they actually announced a limited 300 copy release, like vinyl release of that album. And it has, instead of the really bright green artwork that it had originally, it's this really interesting kind of decrepit gray kind of stone looking background. Still the same, like whatever, no idea what thing is popping a bird's bubble. I don't know what the other creature is. It's still baffling, but
yeah,
it's just that, but without the green background. It's like a weird stone. So I'm excited to have some exclusive vinyl for that. I ordered that. Should be shipping for me on like December 4th, I want to say.
Cool.
I could be wrong. I was kind of looking for my shipping notification just now. Can't find it.
Yeah, hell yeah. When's is it? So is that album already out, or is that release?
That album's been out since 2015.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Well, it's an EP. Yeah, but the vinyl is the vinyl.
So they're like
just
now. Yeah, they're like just now releasing a vinyl for it. Okay, that's cool.
And speaking of vinyl, Meshuggah have put their full discography.
Not their
vinyl.
full one. Not their full. Just the first five.
Oh, really?
Albums.
Yep,
Oh, my bad. It's their self-titled EP from 1989 all the way up to and then every album in between all the way up to 1998's Chaos Sphere.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
that's I believe it's 5 records.
Okay.
And 2 of them are definitely 2 LPs. I'm not sure which ones they are again. I think Chaos Sphere is a 2 LP.
Yeah.
But they a couple of their first EP and their first album got new artwork done for this vinyl too. So that's a really cool bonus, I guess, to the reissues of those.
Yeah, if it didn't cost money, I would absolutely go for it. But oh boy, is it money.
I hear that.
It's limited to 500
Friday,
copies though.
Yeah, 500 of each, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's yeah. And I really want to say that previously they did do their more modern discography. They did a full box set of that too on vinyl. This is the second time I've seen special edition like discography vinyl set advertised for them.
I feel like that's correct. I don't have any way to check that right now without making unreasonable noise with my keyboard, so I'm gonna avoid that. But so yeah, I guess with that out of the way, we will go right into our review for this episode, which we are going to start off. Our first review of our returning episode is going to be Coheed and Cambria's new album that came out. Oh God, help me with the date.
Oh no,
October 6th, 5th, October 5th.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about Coheed and Cambria's new album that came out on October 5th called Vaxis Act 1, The Unheavenly Creatures. So, without further ado, Jesus Christ. Without further ado, we're going to get right into that review now. All right. So this album came out October 5th, 2018 under Roadrunner Records. Coheed released a box CD set, which came with a visual novel for the album, which is sick. And it came with a theater prop mask too, for one of the creatures from the concept, because this new album is a concept album, as every Coheed album except for The Color Before the Sun. It supposedly roughly takes place in the same universe, but it's a completely different story. So I don't even want to start speculating on any concept. We're going to try and mostly stick to musical review here and try not to get into the concept as hard as possible, because that is going to be a rabbit hole of...
I mean, there's a few things that are really explicit that I do have mention of, but I don't know their meaning, and I don't even try to expand on that. I just point them out.
Sure.
That's it.
Sure. That's fine. But yeah, this album came out October 5th. It came out on vinyl as well. There is a 3 LP, 5 sides. They release. I think they have a regular release, but I know for a fact they had a limited to 4,500 copy. I can't remember what it was called. The coloring, the variant was called, but it's got 3 different colored records on there. I think the first one is an orange smoky splatter. The second one's a pink smoke, and the third one's a gray smoke.
Yep.
And the third record has an etching on the back that has the new album, the new saga, the pentology, as Claudio Sanchez calls it. That new logo on it. So it's a really... It's actually, in my opinion, it's probably one of the better limited variants of a vinyl out there. It looks gorgeous. And
I want to say that the normal, like after the limited ran out, because it was limited to like 400 copies, wasn't it?
4,500.
40. Oh, really?
Yeah, 4,500. Yeah.
Dang,
and it
I thought
sold
was a
out
lot less.
pretty quick too. So
Yeah, we got in there quick.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say that the normal vinyl after that ran out. I think that all three are just kind of colored like the first
yeah, I think it was like
record
an
of this
orange.
cut. It's like that splattered, orange
Yeah,
splatter
an
thing.
orange brownish splatter, a copper splatter, or something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, yeah, I will actually let Micah start off on this because he has more structured thoughts on this than I do.
Debatable.
Well, I mean, I'm speaking from the place of somebody who has been a Coheed fan for the last 15 years and will just undoubtedly keep gushing and never stop talking. So you should just interrupt me and start now.
Well, I mean, I can do that too. But so I guess that would be interesting to kind of bring up. So you've been a fan for like 15. So what album would that mean that you started on?
I started. Well, I guess
this
it's
is their
not.
ninth album.
Yeah, I guess it's not. It wouldn't be 15. It would be more like 10. I started with Good Apollo and Burning Star 4 Volume 1, which came out in 2005.
I mean, that's probably a main starting point for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's easily the most popular one. And this album actually does this new album, Vaxis Act 1, Unheavenly Creatures, actually has a lot of callbacks to that album. So that's a really cool coincidence tie in there.
And another nice coincidence tie in is I started with Coheed sometime in high school, so like 5 years ago or so, and no, I guess it'd be like 7 years ago. And I started with the Afterman double album, Ascension and Descension, and there are a few callbacks to that in this as well, which is really neat. I think there's a lot of callbacks to all the albums, honestly.
Yeah,
not
I wouldn't,
all,
I
but
wouldn't doubt
a
it.
good number.
Oh yeah.
So I guess my opening thought is that I love every song on this album a ton, but oh boy, not equally.
Yeah, that's a thing with this album I have found too.
Yeah.
I should mention.
I don't think that it's for subjective reasons either, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, that is. I should mention, I forgot to mention, this is a 15-track album, and it runs about 78, 79 minutes, depending on where you're listening to it. I believe
it's a big boy.
I believe the vinyl is actually cut down to like 77 or 76 minutes, because I noticed the Dark Sentencer actually doesn't have the piano outro that gives the motif from Good Apollo.
Really, it doesn't.
Nope, it does not.
Wow.
Unless the five or so times I've spun it, I just have ignored it, which I don't think I would, but it's a possibility. I do know that it is a little shorter because there are some end song transitions that don't exist, like the one. What's the song that comes right before the gutter? I keep forgetting. I blank this every time.
Is it? It's Nighttime Walkers.
Nighttime Walkers, yeah. The Nighttime Walkers does not have the outro, that little like noise outro that leads and fades.
Oh, that
into
perfectly
the gutter.
ties it into the gutter.
Yep, it doesn't have that because there's a. I think it's either there's a record flip or they just needed space. So
that's fair.
Yeah, there's a couple things that are cut from the vinyl, but it's nothing of like any importance. It's just
you don't really notice
little motifs and outros. So yeah, I think
because
the vinyl
of the nature.
Yeah,
like the nature of vinyl where you have to flip the record constantly, like you really don't notice.
Yeah.
A vinyl listener doesn't notice like strung together songs a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I feel.
So that's, depending on where you listen to it, the album ranges from about 76 to 79 minutes.
Vaxis is a big boy.
Vaxis is a big boy. I think this is actually the longest Coheed record.
I'm excited if that's going to be the case for the rest of the pentology.
Yeah, no joke. So let's start off talking about like overall general feel, like what your general thoughts about the album are. So you said right away that you love every song but not equally.
Nope.
I can hard agree with that because there are some tracks on this album that I want to skip and some that I just straight up will not listen to at all, but there are others that I am anticipating getting to that track, and when I do, I just have the biggest expletive.
My first thought was The Gutter, honestly, but I know it's Queen of the Dark for you.
Oh, yeah. My personal favorite track off the album is Queen of the Dark, and I can give my reasoning for that. My reasoning is just because I feel like it is the most not Coheed song that also sounds like Coheed. Like, if that makes any sense. Like,
it's one of their moodiest tracks.
Yeah,
sure.
And there's just in their 9-album discography, I can't think of another song that even comes close to sounding like it or having like a similar dynamic to it. It's just the very drawn out and like drony guitars.
Yeah, it's one of the first times they've felt comfortable being more simplistic.
Yeah, it's a very not Coheed thing, and
because they
do it.
They like
so
to be
well.
a little busy sometimes. Well, a lot of the time, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like they finally kind of let things breathe for once.
Oh yeah, and it is a very good breath. I think at that point in the album, I think that is when the album actually starts to open up, because the first, like, I want to say the first half of the album is very busy with tracks like the not the title track, the Dark Sentencer, and then the title track Unheavenly Creatures, and then Toys and Black Sunday. Like, all these songs are so busy and in your face with a lot of the stuff, and I really feel like Queen of the Dark is just in a good position in the album, just like you said, to take that breath.
Yeah, and it just gives the listener a little break, because I feel especially like Toys is it's a really complicated song.
Oh yeah,
and it takes a lot from the listener to really pay attention to it.
Yeah, Toys is, at first listen, the first time I heard Toys, I didn't like it either. But it grew on me, and it made me realize it's probably one of Coheed and Cambria's most technical songs.
Yeah, like the verses, the structure of the lyric melody or the vocal melody is completely juxtaposed over the guitar, and they're totally different things.
Yeah, you've got the guitar doing this weird, like, this song tripped me out the first time I listened to it, because I thought it was in like a weird time signature. Nah, dude, this whole song is just in 4/4, very standard
it's just that
time
there's
signature.
so many different layers.
It's all the layers and the weird accents on the guitars that sounds like, again, I'm gonna say it, a lot of this album doesn't sound like traditional Coheed.
Mm-hmm.
But they do it so well that this is now what Coheed sounds like. Like, you can listen to anything now and be like on first listen to Vaxis, you could be like, oh wow, this doesn't sound like a Coheed album at all. But once you start listening to it, you realize, oh wow, this is just the new Coheed. And this is great.
I think that's more coming from someone who, if you started with anything between Second Stage Turbine Blade and up to
I'd say up to
Year of the Black Rainbow. Yeah, because the writing strategy that they've kind of, and the sound that they've been using, I think that they've kind of been using it since Afterman a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I would even say some parts of Year of the Black Rainbow started this writing style too, because songs like Guns of Summer,
Black Sunday is a lot like Year of the Black Rainbow.
Yeah.
Parts.
Oh yes. Yes.
That was my first thought.
I got very heavy Here We Are Juggernaut vibes from it.
So did I. But no, since Afterman, they've kind of taken on this interesting, much more concise melody format where there's a lot more emphasis on hooks a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there are like 4 or 5 songs out of these 15 that are extremely proggy, like Toys, where it's super technical, but a lot of the time they really focus on catchy choruses, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and
and they've been doing that on Afterman and Ascension and Descension a ton.
Yeah, and that's cool, because that's just the Coheed sound. It's the pop rock sound with the prog influences and the prog like mindset. So I think they only get better at that, at executing that, as you would hope one would after doing this for nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
This band is definitely a band that I will say gets better with age, which is very hard for a lot of other bands out there to say. And that's, I'm trying my best to be as unbiased as possible at this point.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to sound like I'm being a Coheed dick rider, but at the same time, like, I think this band genuinely deserves most of it. A lot of people can say they don't like Claudio's vocals and his style and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's totally subjective. That's fine.
Yeah, that's a taste thing, but I think when talking about Coheed and Cambria, you have to at least be able to admit that the craftsmanship of the storytelling in the lyrics and the technicality of the instrumentation and just the way that they are as a band is very well executed.
Yeah, and I
think they just go above and beyond.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I think that this is the best they've been at conveying a story, both with lyrics and music as well.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I will say that too, yeah.
Because, we're going to do it.
What?
One of my biggest complaints about concept albums recently, and it happened with Second Stage, Turbine Blade, and onwards until this album, honestly, for me. I never felt like I fully understood what was happening at all. But once I read the Second Stage Turbine Blade, then it made sense. This is the first time I just listened to an album, and I, for the most part, feel like I followed all the main beats, and that the comic would be supplementary and help just kind of fill in some blanks. I'm not 100% lost. Automata between the buried and me. Tommy.
Reset the counter.
Yeah. And I'm not 100% lost even after reading the explanation.
Tommy.
So, but no, that's been a pretty big problem with concept albums a lot of time because they have to sacrifice storytelling for the music, and Coheed somehow gets the storytelling across the best they ever have now while not sacrificing the music a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I think like you said, I do think that is a problem a lot with concept albums, but I feel like most of the time concept albums will forego musical integrity and lean more towards storytelling.
That can happen too.
Yeah, that can happen too, and that's what I encounter a lot more whenever it comes to concept, and that's a really big bummer when you encounter something and you're like, this story is so cool, I just wish the music was as good. I don't think you have to worry about that with Coheed.
Yeah, I think my only experiences are basically Between the Buried and Me and Dream Theater, so it's usually just that the story suffers a ton.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but no, that's absolutely true.
So yeah, I think that, so we've been talking about all the good things about this album now. Why don't we switch into some
That's exactly what I was gonna do.
Yeah, I figured some of the downsides of this album. I'm gonna let Micah. I'm gonna let you go first on this because I have very specific grievances with this album, and they're not.
So do I.
They're not so much that I feel like they should be the forefront. So I'll let you start, and then we'll go off of that.
All right. So I really appreciate how much more clear and concise their songs are now, and I love basically every hook that they give, except there's one that I actually do have a problem with, and that is True Ugly, unfortunately. I don't know what number track it is.
I think it comes right after Queen of the Dark, so that would be track 7.
It is 7.
Yes.
And so it's also, I would put it in the grouping of the most proggy songs, because like when I had a problem with it and I was listening to it critically to get there, like figure out why I didn't like a certain aspect of it, I noticed all the different changes that it has, and there's a ton. Like it's like the verses and bridges are constantly changing.
It's a very busy
they barely
song.
Repeat.
Yeah, it is a very busy song. There is a lot.
But at the end of all of those sections, they come back to this chorus.
Yeah, and okay, it's a good thing that you brought up True Ugly, because that is one of my grievances as well. I'm not a big fan.
Song.
It is a good song, but I'm not a big fan of it, because I feel like the song is like 70% chorus. And
it's super not though. It's just because that chorus sticks out. Like I listened to it again, and that chorus, it's only in there like 3 times.
Yeah, and I think the reason it feels like it's there so much is because, like you said, there's so many things changing constantly. There's not one riff that I can hear and be like, okay, this isn't the chorus. It's I'm hearing this riff, and then I'm hearing this riff, and then I'm hearing another one, and then chorus, and then I'm hearing this riff, and then I'm hearing another one, and then chorus, and then another riff, and then chorus. You know, it's like,
yeah.
I feel like because there's not, it's almost like I feel like this track suffers from being too proggy, and that's very strange to say, considering Toys and The Dark Sentencer are way proggier than that song in my opinion.
Well, I think it might be that I still kind of like the chorus, but I'm just acknowledging that it is absolutely kind of the most forced one.
Yeah,
but I absolutely love the progression. Like, if you cut out the chorus, like the progression of each of those sections, I absolutely love it. Every single transition to a new type of idea, I think, works extremely well. It's just I don't know that the chorus melody itself works is just it, honestly.
Yeah, and like I said, like we said, it's an unfortunate downside to that song because it is a good song, but not everything can be perfect.
Yeah, it may have been one of those things where, for some reason, I think he was dead set on those words as the chorus, and they just kind of got forced into that melody, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. Or he had to write a melody that fit those words. It just kind of came off weird, Yeah.
I could definitely see that being a possibility.
You want to talk about the ba-ba-bas? How do you feel about that?
Nah, I don't think they're worth mentioning because, I mean, it is just a thing Coheed does every now and then. Every band does the onomatopoeia stuff, and it's whatever.
I just kind of like the Doppler effect that they have because it kind of feels like sirens, which is kind of fitting for the story,
Yeah, I can't really complain too much about the Boz in True Ugly and the Nas in Old Flames because
except when you do complain about them a lot.
Yeah, but I'm realizing I can't really anymore because I listen to Death Cab for Cutie. So
True.
If I'm gonna complain about the Nas and the Boz in these songs, I got to be a little more consistent.
Yeah, actually, I do really want to say before we move on, it was really cool that I don't know the actual overarching story purpose, but before the first chorus in True Ugly, you actually hear that female voice clip that we've been hearing since In Keeping Secrets. Like we heard it on In Keeping Secrets and like stuff like Blood Red Summer, I want to say, and we heard it on Good Apollo Volume 1. There's just like this female background vocal that appears in a bunch of their albums pretty constantly. And you do hear that on this track, and I have no idea what the purpose is, but it's really neat. It's cool to think about. Yeah, it's right before the first chorus, and it's the only time on the album that you hear that. Yeah.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. It's the same.
I don't
it's
think
the
I've
same
ever
voice.
noticed that. I don't think I've ever noticed that.
Yeah, it stuck out to me. It sticks out so much to me. It's kind of crazy.
I'll have to re-listen to that and check that out. I don't think I've ever. I don't see that just shows you how much I pay attention to this song.
Yeah, and it's that, and I guess we forgot to mention it on Black Sunday. You also hear a priest screech on Black Sunday.
I do hear that. Yeah.
Which also that's something we've been hearing since Second Stage Turbine Blade.
Yes,
the first album
since Hearshot Kid Disaster. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there are a lot of this is obviously Amory Wars universe, and there's some connection, but he's
trying to fully solidify that yes, this album does take place in the same universe. It is somehow connected to the Amory Wars trilogy.
And I guess, what was it? Yeah, and it makes it even more complicated considering that the album starts out with exposition in which it says, "Bruh, there's no time." Also, time and space. Oh. So, I mean, just everything's convoluted in Lorgen, and that was a Dark Souls. Fuck. I just, I think unironically just went for a Dark Souls reference immediately. That's weird.
Well, I think the prologue voiceover that you're talking about, the no time and space thing, I think that's more of a reference to the fact that Vaxis can see the future and the past all at the same time.
Probably, but the fact that I guess, oh no, we're doing it. We're not going to go too far in. No, just the fact that the keywork is made up of souls and everything. If it got completely smashed, like something weird's got to be going on with that universe in general.
Yeah, there's also a strong possibility for that. Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, we have this weird idea that it's running parallel to the most prequel album, The Afterman, because we heard the main character, like Cyrus Amory, we heard his main theme at the end of The Dark Sentencer. Yeah. And the one other connection that I have, and I'll stop, I promise I'll stop, is
gotta keep it to only 5 references.
It stuck out to me immediately, just like all the other stuff. On Black Sunday, the opening lyric is "Baby, I can be your falling star." Mm-hmm. You know?
Oh.
Do you know what the opening lyric of the song Afterman is?
Yeah.
She gave her heart to a falling star.
Yeah. Ooh.
And both of these are love stories. Between two characters.
Shit, dude, I didn't even make that connection. Ooh.
In The Afterman, they had a child that was miscarried, and these characters in this story have a child in the future. So it's a whole thing.
No, we have to stop.
Well, and they're both about couples that get separated.
We have to stop. I'm gonna get.
But we have this idea because I guess my idea is that the first 4 parts of this pentalogy might run parallel. If time is like weird, they might run parallel to the first 4 parts that we've already heard, and then maybe the 5th part will be wholly unique. But that's just my idea.
Purely speculation.
It would be neat. Yeah.
Okay, so to get back on track with talking about music, since we were still on cons of the album.
Oh, sure.
I think the one thing that doesn't get addressed enough when talking about albums is how the album closes out. And usually, with Coheed
this album ends great. What do you mean?
Shut up! I'm getting there.
It's the best closed album that they've had. What do you mean? Did you hear that, Priest?
Usually with Coheed albums, they will end on, well, ever since In Keeping Secrets, they have done like movement songs. I don't know what you want to call them, but they'll number it.
Oh, it's like a suite.
A suite. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. They'll do they'll usually end their albums with a suite. And so, like, for example,
they stopped that after No World for Tomorrow.
Yeah, because that was the end of the Amory Wars series, though.
True.
So, and Second Stage Turbine Blade didn't have a suite either. Therefore, the Afterman series has a suite in it. That double album has a suite in it with the key entities.
The key. Yeah.
But it's not at the end, so they're poo-poo that idea, I guess. Year of the Black Rainbow doesn't have a suite, but neither does Second Stage Turbine Blade. But starting from In Keeping Secrets all the way through No World for Tomorrow, they ended the album on suites, and those have always been, in my opinion, such strong ending tracks, especially with Good Apollo Volume 1's Ender being the final cut. That song is unbelievably good for an ending song. It wraps everything up, and it is actually like a curtain call, and which is what the song tries to portray. And so I believe it hits it perfectly. No World for Tomorrow ends in a 5-part suite. Again, really strong enders with, oh God, I can't remember a lot of the names, but like Radio Bye Bye. And just that whole suite it brings it and it wraps it up very well. Vaxis kind of pulled A Color Before the Sun and ended on like a really quiet acoustic thing, which it was really weird to hear it in this album, because no other track on Vaxis is soft. Like, nope. they're all for the most part fairly rocky, fairly prog rock, fairly, I don't want to say heavy, but heavy.
And it's not to say that Lucky Stars is bad for that necessarily.
I just think its placement's bad.
And I think that its overall tone just absolutely does not fit.
It would have been, you've made this point. You made this point when we were talking about it yesterday or the day before. But I agree with you. I agree with you even more now after thinking about it. But you made the comparison of Lucky Stars being compared to Homecoming, which was a bonus track from
Ascension.
Ascension or Descension?
Ascension, yeah.
Ascension? Okay.
Yep.
So it was a bonus track for Ascension. And the more I've been thinking about it, the more I fully agree. I think Lucky Stars should have been left off, and the album should have just ended on Old Flames, because Old Flames is this very theatrical, very over-the-top show tune.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it does a pretty decent job of wrapping everything up lyrically and story-wise.
Yeah, and like, because the idea is that the couple, I know we don't want to talk about story too much, but it's also really important for the context of certain songs. It's supposed to be a really happy song where these two lovebirds escape a prison together. So, of course, it will sound like that when it's closing the album, you know?
And then Lucky Stars just feels like this epilogue that wasn't needed, because you got most of that context from Old Flames.
It was already a happy ending. And I guess it's maybe like supposed to just...
It turns it from happy into sappy, in my opinion. It turns it from a happy ending into a very sappy love story ending. And
and I understand...
It is... Yeah, go ahead.
I understand that they maybe feel the need to cool off the listener after 74 minutes or 73 minutes of straight just in your face kind of prog music, but it's just the way Old Flames closes and everything, it kind of just ruins it. It's just really
like
weird.
You said, it ends on that very quiet piano note
that the
and
prologue
Claudio
opens
saying,
with.
Nah.
No, it ends with the piano line that the prologue opens with after he did, like, the vocals end.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right. Yeah,
so it would literally make the album cyclical. Be perfect.
It's literally a perfect ending right there. Lucky Stars should have just been a bonus track for pre-orders or deluxe editions or something.
And it absolutely sounds like The Color Before the Sun, just kind of going, no, but wait, you remember me?
Yeah, it gives me very heavy Peace to the Mountain vibes, and I like that song a lot. It's probably one of my favorite songs, one of like the better songs off of The Color Before the Sun. Not to shit on that album, because it is a decent album for not being
Coheed, they're one of the bands where it's like, just in the context of their whole discography, it is not, maybe like you would say, it's not a great album, but it's still really good.
Yeah, it's a decent pop rock album.
Yeah.
Which is all it was trying to be. So that's, fine, whatever.
It's not bad by any means. It's just not Coheed. It just does not live up to the rest of the discography at all.
And that's fine. It was just a little foray into non-concept writing. Yeah, it was just a phase, Mom. But yeah, it gave me very heavy Peace to the Mountain vibes, and I was like, okay, well, did this need to be here? Because Old Flames wrapped up everything pretty well, so I don't see the need for it being there. But
no, you have to always make sure to thank your Lucky Stars, Michael. It's polite.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Then my other complaint about the song, outside of that, because even though it's a fine song in and of itself, like just standalone, it's totally serviceable. But the really bluesy guitar solo that's in it, I kind of really hate the note that the solo enters in on. Like, the rest of the solo is great, but for whatever reason, just the entrance of the solo is really stilted, and it just, like, it's one of those things where just every time you listen to the song, it just stands out to you, and you're like, why? You know?
Yeah. So the bottom line with Lucky Stars is it's a B-side. Yeah. It sounds like a B-side. It should have just been a B-side.
I wish it was on that etch side alone of the vinyl, so I didn't have to, like...
Yeah, right. So you don't have to listen to it. You can just stop there.
I'm sorry, Claudia. I love you.
Yeah. We're sorry, Claudia, if you ever listen to this, but
it's really good.
The fact of the matter is,
I believe you.
The fact of the matter is, the album, in our opinion, would have been better off ending on Old Flames solely, if not solely for the fact that it's a good wrap-up song, but purely because it would make the album cyclical. That's if for no other reason, purely for the fact that you can put the album on repeat and it would repeat seamlessly.
And I kind of, I don't know. I wonder if, I guess we should still say we kind of said this at the start, but we kind of like lost track of it, like when the album first released. If Lucky Stars leads into Act 2, then fine, sure. Because I guess we're ignorant. We actually don't know. But if it doesn't, then all these points still stand.
Yeah.
And I bet it won't.
Unless the beginning of this Act 2 album starts with something reminiscent of Lucky Stars, I'm going to keep saying it should have just been a bonus track like Homecoming, or it should have just been left off entirely. But if, like you said, we have no context for what comes after it, so we don't have the full context around it. So if they do end up making it tie-in, well, then fine. Whatever. Fine.
Oh, I guess. So I wonder if you feel the same way. The first verse of, I guess I'm just kind of moving on. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Because I could have ranted about that all day.
That's fine. Yeah, I was gonna move us on anyway after that.
I really feel like the first verse of Love Protocol is a lot like some songs from Good Apollo 1. Like just until it gets to the chorus where, like, the first verse of Love Protocol is a lot like Good Apollo 1, but then the second you hit the first chorus, the rest of the song is literally just Here to Mars Redux. It's just Here to Mars again.
Okay,
That's,
yep.
you know.
I was gonna make that point too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see that as much of a downside.
No, it's a great
in my
song. I
opinion.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We're running kind of long on this. Do you want to give any like final thoughts? Anything?
I want to
really
dance
important
to the
talk
pavilion at my wedding is one of the songs.
That's a really good song too.
Dude, that would be a great song to. So it's really funny though, because a lot of the people I've seen online, they think that Pavilion's the song that stands out and should not, like, it doesn't fit on this album. And I don't understand what they mean, because it's clearly a section of the story where the characters are reunited, and the whole thing's a love story. So what do you mean?
Well, the Pavilion, like that, I mean,
it's a beautiful
Pavilion
song.
Pavilion is about where I'm at in the visual novel.
Yeah.
Reading wise, Pavilion is literally the story of them like getting to this place in the prison called the Pavilion.
Yeah.
Meeting up again and then discussing how they're going to get back home.
Yeah.
Like that's literally in the story, and it is important, and it is given in the lyrics. Like, are these the same people who voted out Queen of the Dark as not one of the best tracks?
Yeah,
because
because
they're wrong too.
Yeah, no, and it's really interesting though that it was fashioned in such a way to fit the story so well, because if you watched the making of for this album, Claudio talked about how the Pavilion, a lot of the lyrics and just the song overall came from a place of him playing with the idea of just quitting music entirely. Mm-hmm. You know, so that really, I think that really brought in a lot of disparity into the vote, like the lines. I think the lines in the chorus that are the most desperate, I think that they were there from the start, and he just kind of realized that they fit the story. The lines that go, "You want me here? Well, then ask me to stay." You know, mm-hmm. That kind of like, it fits in a love story, but also when you have the context of him thinking of quitting music, like that's kind of, it's kind of heavy.
You're gonna make me cry.
You're doing good, Claudio. Keep going.
You're gonna make me cry, Claudio. Don't. But yeah, I don't know. We should probably wrap up the review now. Final thoughts on it?
It's I think it's their most spacious, and like well developed story albums so far. Like, it's the first time I listened to the album and got a sense of the scale and what the story was, because especially with the art too, like how realistic and spacious the art is, you know. Mm-hmm. Like, because all the other art was usually like 2D. Well, this is obviously 2D. Well, there's a lot more 3 dimension to this art.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot more depth.
Everything else is usually like comic-y art, I guess, except for in Keeping Secrets, but which is just like a shot of a sky with a moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I will. I'll agree on that. I think this is, like you said, this is probably one of Coheed's most coherent albums to date, whereas everything flows so well into the next thing, except for Lucky Stars.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to get that.
And I hate the transition into It Walks Among Us. I totally forgot that.
You know,
because It Walks Among Us starts with the weird metal on metal banging and scraping, you know, before it gets into the super sci-fi synth line behind like palm muted guitar. It's just that weird metal scraping. Like, I get that it's like a prison, but I'm not 100% what the purpose of that was, and since it's not obvious what that is, it just stands out as being weird, and I don't like it.
I understand that from a no context standpoint, but I can give you context for that after we're done recording here.
I mean, do they make the prisoners work? I'm assuming.
There's some pretty obvious context after it. I'll tell you after.
Cool. So there's the downside of concept albums that I was talking about.
Yeah, there it is.
Where music that song comes like it's really bad if music is just kind of inherent, like it feels bad until you get context. It's totally different, because I would prefer it if it just got better with context, not it was bad until I got context.
Does that song come after The Gutter?
Yes.
Is it after All on Fire or right after The Gutter?
After All on Fire.
After All on Fire. Okay, yeah, I can give you context for that.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm gonna say most of the same stuff as my general thoughts. Great album.
Should listen to it.
Definitely, if you're trying to find if you haven't heard of Coheed and Cambria by this point and you're into prog, like if you're into prog, rock or prog metal, whatever, and you haven't heard of Coheed and Cambria by this point, then this is a great place to start. Yes, I would say that.
Especially since it's a
good
new
album.
story, you know.
Yes, and it's very appealing to the heavier crowd because it is a heavier album than most of their other stuff. It has a lot more heavy moments on it. It's a lot more experimental than all their other stuff, which I think they do well. The experimentation doesn't flub any of their sound like it would a lot of other bands who have, you know, been trying to do this for 20 years. I just think Claudio Sanchez has one of the most coherent concepts out there.
Yep.
When it comes to concept music.
And it's something that only comes from putting in the time, and like, I guess it's kind of, most people wouldn't be willing to put however long, like they've been a band for nearly 20 years now, right? 19 years. And 9 albums, like very few people would have commitment like that, you know.
Yeah,
you have to put the time in and like kind of chip your way at it, you know.
Definitely. Well, so there it is. That's our review of Vaxis Act 1, The Unheavenly Creatures. This episode ran a little longer because it's our first it's our first time trying this new format. So
but it was a big album.
Episodes from here on. Very long album, very, very dense album. So episodes from here on out will probably be a little shorter.
Yeah.
So before we officially say goodbye and let your ears go, Micah, is there anything you've been listening to, been checking out the past couple weeks, this past month since we've been on break that you would like to make a mention, you know, whether you think we're going to talk about it or not in the future?
Yeah. So I guess very recently I've been listening, this will be like I said at the start, I'm going to spoil maybe some stuff that we talk about later. People won't remember though. I've been listening to Don't Touch the Outside a lot from Thomas Giles, Tommy from Between the Braid and Me. Ooh,
that came out just recently, right?
Yeah, it came out in November.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say like November.
I think it came out on the 9th, actually. I think it came out the same day as the
November
10-year Law Dispute anniversary.
Yep. And so I've been listening to that. Yeah. I've been listening to Vaxis a ton, just obviously. I've been listening to Fortress by Protest here a little more because I've got my box set of the 10th anniversary release for them. So that
got reissued.
Been listening to the mixes for that to see if it's better, and it is. It's a lot better. And there's a really cool. He's kind of like Sithuai. There's a cool EP that I've been listening to by a guy named under the name Sincato. Okay. He's really neat. I found him on Bandcamp. I meant to have him as my second bonus episode, but
what do you mean? We only planned one episode.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. My bad.
That's the retcon. That's the retcon now.
Yeah. And I actually, just yesterday, there's this really cool, I guess it kind of fits with Coheed. I found this amazing pop rock, like pop prog rock band, which is literally what Coheed is. I found a great band that put out a new album like yesterday. They're called The Intersphere. So I might try to get that on a later episode eventually.
Cool.
It's really neat. Haven't really been listening to a lot of metal lately.
Yeah.
Mostly just prog rock.
Well, I've been listening personally. I've been listening to that Law Dispute remaster because oh boy, we'll talk about it more because we are definitely going to review that coming up in a soon future episode. Maybe, I don't know, the next one, the one after that, who knows.
No, we know what the next one is.
Do we?
They don't. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, it's electronic.
Yeah, you do. Ooh, a little tease. Little tease. It's electronic. No, I've been listening to a lot of that new Law Dispute remaster. I have been listening to. I know it came out a lot earlier this year, but I have just recently been getting into Charmer, a band an emo band up from Michigan.
Okay.
They released their self-titled. I think it's their first album, I want to say. I think they've had an EP out before. If I'm wrong, whatever, somebody will yell at me. But I've been listening to their self-titled LP a lot recently because I felt like an idiot for not listening to it earlier in the year. But that is a great emo record and probably going to be up there in, if not my top 5, my top 10 albums of the year.
What was it called? Like, what was the band? And
Charmer.
Okay.
Charmer, Charmer.
Okay.
Yep. I've been listening to a lot of that. You know, I haven't been listening to a lot of music lately outside of what we got to review. I've been doing a lot of podcast listening, so.
Yeah, I did a lot of because I did plan on maybe 4 bonus episodes, so I listened to a ton of stuff for that. There's a really, I guess if I'm not going to get around to them, might as well. There's a great album from a band called Bearings, called Blue in the Dark. I like that a lot. Then Atrium is a instrumental prog rock band. They have a great album called The Equation of Beauty. There were a few stinkers that I listened to that I'm not going to mention. Oh, and I've been listening to the Doom soundtrack a lot because I got that on vinyl, which is great. The nice. Doom 2016 reboot.
One of the better soundtracks out there, honestly.
Yeah, that's great to listen to just as background noise. But yeah, I think that's the end of this episode then. Right, boy?
That is the end of this episode. Right, boy.
Boy. As Claudio would say. I still want to do the thing where you take a shot every time he says like boy or baby. Or
oh yeah, that's a rule for anybody 21 and over listening to this podcast. Yeah, go ahead and listen to this album, and at any time Claudio says boy, baby, or mama, take a shot.
If you want to die like me. I mean,
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh hey, that outro, intro, and transition music sounded good. Wow. It sounded like it was made by us or something. Wow.
Shut up. So yeah, that will do it for this episode of the Sound Good podcast. Thank you all for listening. If you made it this far, we will see you next week. Well, you will hear us next week.
No, I'm adding face cam.
Okay, fair enough.
Just
put the
me,
YouTube
though.
to good use. Yeah, well, of course. All right, with that, we will see you next week.
Goodbye.